Well, let me come in here, Governor Uduaghan. If you had not come here, honestly, loads of people wouldn't have known that the state government is working on another investigation and another report to see the effect of oil spills, especially around Delta State. Then very quickly, but just before such reports come to fruition, before we get to the end of such report, we must be talking about some other things to do, because if you look at some of these pictures we have here and you look at the spills and the effect of such spills, maybe they can just pop them up on the screen. And we look at this child here that has this, you're a medical doctor, which is very good that we have you here. You look at this child and look at the skin of this child and the effect of what the oil spill has caused to this child. What can we do as we await the report? Because we really cannot allow them to go like this pending the outcome of the report.
Yes, first of all, very critically, we must embark on massive education of the people of that area, because you see, like you are seeing this child there now.
Yes.
The child is there. See the skin. I wish they were.
No, it will come up on the screen.
The child is there. Look at the skin. Look at the crayfish or whatever.
Yeah, the crayfish and the prawns.
It's catchy. There has to be some massive education of the people of the effects of all this oil spill, because many of them do not even know that the oil spills can affect their health. They don't know. There has to be education of the people in that area, and there also has to be on support, health support, especially for the people in the area, and of course some assistance in feeding. I mean, some assistance in agriculture. But basically, let us first of all know exactly what is happening there. Let us start to clean up the environment. And it is not a responsibility. I mean, it's not possible for a state government to start the cleanup, because it's quite expensive, and it's a massive thing. If you do it piecemeal, it will not succeed. Yeah, because when you just clean up an area, of course the water is not stagnant. It flows all over the place. So there has to be, first of all, knowing the exact magnitude of the problem, and start a comprehensive cleanup of the area.
I think the question, my question is, how did we get here? How did we get to this stage? How did it get so bad that for over 40 years we've looked at oil exploration and environmental degradation right in our backyard, and we haven't said anything about it, or if we did, our voices haven't been so loud?
Yeah, but we got here because we did not take legal issues seriously, and this is where I think government should take responsibility. The oil companies come, they operate the way they want to operate. They use equipment that they would normally not use in other parts of the world, equipment that can damage the environment. They have pipelines that have been there for over 20 years. Nobody bothers to check, or if people that even bother to check, when they check, they don't check properly. Of course, they just go, maybe stay somewhere in Warrior, Port Harcourt, and write their reports. But these pipelines have been there for several years. Of course, the longer they stay, the more they are prone to being damaged. And when they are damaged, there's leak into the environment.
You mentioned, sir, sorry to cut you there, but you mentioned the government. Which level, which tier of government are we looking at? Is it the local government, state government, federal government?
Well, I don't want to shift. Like I said, this should not be a blame game. But you see, most of the laws affecting oil operations, they are federal laws. State governments have no right to legislate on oil operation, oil activities. They are federal laws. But as state governments, we can draw the attention of the federal government, on the attention of the oil company, and that's what we are doing to some of these issues when they occur.
I thought part of they've got this environmental impact assessment, Decree 86 of 1992, which gives states some autonomy about doing something about this. Don't states?
That's why we're able to do back on our assessment now. Like I said, we're backing on our assessment because we believe that we have the right to do that assessment. But after that, we'll now talk to the federal government.
Yeah, but in line with what the question, I mean, how did we get here? We saw the response, which sadly, because those who say, listen, they can't accuse you, this report cannot come up, and then you post the reports on YouTube for the people to deal with. And then part of the response that was posted there was that vandalism, illegal bunkering was attributed to it, and they say
especially that word they call sabotage, and they went ahead to say, well, the Nigerian law, back to the laws you talked about that the Nigerian laws does not give them any kind of provision to compensate, pay compensation because of sabotage.
Yes, one cannot totally remedy the issue of sabotage. I mean, when you say sabotage, what does it really mean? People in communities getting angry over the fact that either government or the oil companies have not done X, Y, Z for them. Meanwhile, the money is coming out of the oil that is coming from their community. So they get upset and probably open a valve.
Well, that will be sabotage, but, but all theft to be another,
thing. That's where I was going to.
Yeah.
You know, communities getting angry, upset. That is one. I feel, in fact, that is one. The one I would say is sabotage. The other one is oil theft, which is again different, and which I've always said, there are stakeholders in the chain of oil theft. It is not the young man alone who goes to cut the pipe that is the major issue. There's a terminal point where the buyers buy the oil. And like when I was addressing the ambassadors in Abuja sometime, I said, look, if we really want to stop oil theft, we must take it holistically. We must identify where the terminal point for this oil. Who are those buying this oil? At the international market, they are being sold. How do we stop the sale of this oil? They are being used for refineries outside the country. How do we stop the use of this oil for the refinery? Because if there is no market for it, of course, the people doing the damage down there will not have the motivation to do it. So these problems have to be dealt with holistically. It is not just accusing one young man.
You know, in dealing with all those problems, Dr. Uduaghan, we still, because this picture is, I still have to go back to this picture of this young boy. It is a pathetic picture. Now, we should be talking about having water treatment plants as some kind of, well, temporary measure as we carry out all of this research. Have you been in talks with some of these multinational oil companies for the provision of water treatment plants, or is the state government taking that?
No, we in Delta State, we have what we call the Delta State Oil Area Producer Development Commission, the SOPADEC, in which we remit 50% of our 30% derivation to the body. It's a body that has been set up really to deal with the oil producing communities. We've had challenges with the management initially, but we've reorganized it and they're ready to go. Now, the idea is for the people of the various communities to identify the projects they want, and the project will be dealt with by the SOPADEC. In addition to this, the oil companies too, we put pressure on the oil companies to do one or two things for the communities. But that really is not the major issue. You know, that a company goes to put a water project in one community and another. That is not, that is, compared to the kind of money that comes out of the oil, that is not the issue. The issue is, how do you clean up this environment? How do you stop further damage of this environment? I grew up in a community where there was no water plant, but we're drinking water and we're not sick because the water was clean. I'm not saying that the water plants should not be put in places, but let us first of all holistically, let us put some emphasis on dealing with the current issues on ground, the issue of the pollution of air, of water, and of soil. If we put palliative measures of just putting water projects, it will not solve the problem.